Here's a story that I heard from Rabbi Shabbatai Slavatitsky, who, by the way, is an excellent speaker. Excellent, excellent, very good speaker. Shabbatai Slavatitsky. He has, or he had, I think he still has, he had the Chabad house in Antwerp. And in his Chabad house in Antwerp, so there were a lot of Holocaust survivors that settled after the Holocaust in Antwerp. And a lot of them came there when they were young and they opened up businesses and they succeeded. So there's two outstanding stories that I heard from him, and I want to tell one of them. The story is like this: I heard it from him that in his congregation there was one man, a Holocaust survivor, that he, whenever there was the blessing of the Kohanim, he would go out. Now, in Judaism, there's what's called the priestly blessing, right? It's really three sentences. May God bless you and protect you, and shine his light upon you and keep you. But the ones who say it are the Kohanim. There are people who know that they are Kohanim. It was given to them by their father, and their father, from the time of the Holy Temple. It's pretty amazing. And so it's given to them, and they stand in front of everybody. They put talis over their head. They lift up their arms and they hold their hands like this. How do they do it? Like this, like that. And they say, Yivrach Hashem Yishmach, may you be blessed. Now, in Israel, there's a lot of places they do it every day or they do it every Shabbat. But outside of Israel, the custom is to only do this blessing of the Kohanim on the Musaf prayer, the additional prayer that's added on all the holidays. On all the holidays, which I don't remember the number, but I don't know, it comes out to be 10, 15 times. Okay. So every time there was the blessing of the Kohen would go up, as this man would leave. He'd leave the synagogue and he'd go outside. So Rabbi Slavatitsky noticed this. And a lot of these people, they had been through the Holocaust, so their brains and their souls were scrambled up. So you had to be really very careful with these people. They acted very normally on the outside and they were businessmen, etc. But in the inside, they were all, how do you say, a storm of emotions and everything that they had, sort of pushed into past. So you had to be very careful with these people to ask him. So finally, the opportunity arose, and he invited this person to his house for a meal, And after the meal, they had a couple of chaims, and he asked him, why is it that whenever there's the blessing of the Kohen, does he leave? Could it be that he's a Kohen? He said, no, I'm not a Kohen. I'm not a Kohen. I'm glad you asked me the question, because I'll tell you. He said, in the Holocaust, he was in Auschwitz, Treblinka, wherever he was. And it was terrible. It was just, unspeakable, what the conditions that they were in. And they had 500 people crammed into a bunker that maybe held 200 people. And people had to sleep on the ground. They had to sleep on the ground, packed like sardines. But you worked so hard in the daytime that sleep was the only time that you were sort of free. You weren't surrounded by the terrible things. So one day, he said everybody was terrible. Everybody felt terrible and everybody was miserable. There was one person, and we called him the rabbi. And he used to go around and comfort people. He would go around and talk to people, and sometimes he would even share his little piece of bread with other people that he had. And he would, encourage people and tell them not to, they're going to get out, it's going to be okay. And so one day, this rabbi, before everyone goes to sleep, so he announces that, listen, next week is going to be Passover. And I want someone to figure out a way to make matzah, because we want a matzah for Passover. So of course everybody, okay, they listen, matzah, they're going to matzah. They don't have anything to eat over there. Matzah. They would, do anything just for a piece of bread, So matzah. So no one knew what to say. So one person noticed as they were going to work he came over to him and he said, "Can you tell me what this is?" And he looked at it and he says, "It's a piece of matzah. Where did you get that from?" So he said, "I don't know. I was walking back from work, from the daily work, and I saw this on a leaf, and I noticed it and I picked it up, and it caught my mind. So this rabbi went and he asked people, he went around and asked, and what happened? It ended up that there was one prisoner that worked in the house, cleaning in the house of one of these SS men. And when the SS man was there was regular times when he wouldn't be there. So he opened up all the windows and he lit a fire and he made a matzah for himself, a little tiny matzah. He made a matzah and he hid it away, and it must be that a little. So the rabbi went over to this person and he said, "You have to make 2 more matzahs." And he said, "No, please, take this matzah that I made. You can have this one. I can't do it." Anyway, so he convinced him and he did it. And he came back and he says, "Now we have 2 matzahs." So everybody came back the night of Passover. Instead of going to sleep, he said, "We're going to make a Seder Passover. And it'll be short. Short. So the rabbi said what he knew by heart. He said, "Okay, now everybody's going to eat a piece of matzah." And he distributed to all the 500, 300 people, whoever there were. He distributed everybody a little tiny piece of matzah. He said, "Okay, now everyone make the blessing and we're going to eat the matzah." And that's what they did. The non-religious people, anti-religious people, communists, all these Jews were there. And they ate the matzah. They said, "Okay, now make the matzah, we have to sing." So somebody started singing. And they started singing, "V'samachta." And all of a sudden the doors burst open and all of the guards came in. And the head of the guards came in and they all had, submachine guns and everything. And the head of the guards came in and said, who's responsible for this? In Auschwitz, nobody laughs. Nobody is happy. Nobody sings. Everybody's miserable. No one sings over here. No one smiles. Who is responsible for this? I'm going to kill you one at a time. We have enough bullets. Everybody's going to watch. I'm going to kill you one at a time. The rabbi steps forward and he says, "You don't have to kill anybody. I'm responsible." He says, "I'm responsible. I caused everybody." He didn't say anything about the matzah. "I caused everyone to sing." He says, "Oh, you're responsible. Okay." He says, "You can kill me. You want to kill somebody." He says, We'll decide when to kill you. Everyone out into the courtyard. They go out into the courtyard. And the Nazis come and they build this sort of gallows over there. And they make the rabbi stand under this, and he announces, "This is what happens to anyone who makes happiness in Auschwitz." He says, "See these guards? We have guards, these big lights, big spotlights on everybody. And they're all with guns, and anyone who doesn't watch this will be shot." So the rabbi turns to the commander, and he said, "Tell me, are you a man or are you afraid?" So he said, "What is that?" He said, "Well, if you're a man, then you'll allow me my last wish." So another commander sort of, and says, "How long does this last wish count? What is it?" He said, "I want to bless everybody. I'm a Kohen, and I want to bless everyone. I want to bless the whole crowd. How long will this take?" He said, "It'll take maximum 1 minute." He said, "Okay." They take the neck. He says, "I'm taking the noose off your neck, but you should know if you try to run away or do something crazy, I'll have you tortured in front of everybody." So no. Said the rabbi stood in front of everybody and he lifted his hands and he blessed everyone. "May God bless you, Yivrech Hashem v'yishmerech, and protect you. He should shine his face on you and he should give you peace." And that's it. And they hung him. That's the story. That's the reason. It says, that's the reason I leave the synagogue every time there's the blessing of the Kohanim, because the blessing that Kohen made stayed in my mind, ringing in my ears, reverberating in my heart and in my soul. That's the only thing that kept me sane the whole time I was in Auschwitz. The only reason I had to live was that I knew that somewhere down deep that I got a blessing from this Kohen and that God is good. And I don't want to confuse that blessing that I heard with any other blessing. I only want to hear his blessing ringing out in my ears, no other blessing. And that's why I leave the synagogue when there's the blessing of the Kohanim. And so it should be ringing out in our ears that we hear the Rebbe say, Mashiach is here. Do everything you can to bring Mashiach, to reveal Mashiach. Yechi Yamelech, say, long live the king. And by means of doing everything we can, that should be ringing in our ears as it'll be fulfilled what that the Holocaust survivor heard, that God will really bless us and will shine his face on us, and that there'll really be peace in the world. Have a good day with Mashiach. Now, tomorrow, 8:15, we will have a class and we'll finish, God willing, L'Kutei Torah. Shalom Uvracha.